Joining us right now is Kasich campaign advisor Trent Duffy. Trent, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. So Adam just told us that John Kasich is in Maryland today. What is the strategy at this point? Do you look beyond New York? I mean, for a long time, Governor Kasich has been trailing really #2 in the #2 spot, right behind Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's right. No, we're looking for a good day in New York, Maria, and I wish you there at the rooftop there. It looks lovely. But no, Kasich was campaigning very hard in New York, and we're very hopeful that we're going to pick up some delegates in some of those key congressional districts. But he is looking forward to Maryland and some of those states, Connecticut and Rhode Island, as we go forward on April 26th. And he has been in second, not only in New York, where he's polling 25, 26%. Some places have him higher, but he's also polling second in all those states on the 26th. And so that's the key to John Kasich's nomination, is to deny Donald Trump the 1237 that he needs to win on the first ballot, and then continue to persuade delegates that he's the only one that can beat Hillary Clinton. I mean, poll after poll after poll show him as the only one, including Ted Cruz. And so the delegates are going to be faced with a choice, either a landslide win with John Kasich or really a bloodbath doomsday scenario when we lose the Senate, the Supreme Court, and a lot of down-ballot races with one of the other two.
Yeah, so that's why he has stayed in this race, despite the fact that people are saying, why are you in this race? Because we know that you've won only, one state, but the convention, of course, anything can happen going into the convention. Who do you think John Kasich is taking votes from by being in this race right now? Is he taking more votes from Donald Trump, or is he hurting Ted Cruz? What do you think?
Well, I think he's taking from both candidates because, for one, the main reason people vote for John Kasich, he's the best qualified to be the President of the United States and the Commander-in-Chief. He's got an excellent economic record. He has a great record of job creation and job growth. But he is sort of viewed as more of an independent, if you will. And so I think he takes from both. It's funny that Donald Trump mentioned and was scared some weeks ago that he was complaining that John Kasich was taking his votes as if he owned these votes. So I think he takes from both because he's a principled conservative. He's got a good record. And that's why he's staying in the race, because he's the best qualified. There's 90-some days to go before we get to Cleveland. There's a lot we don't know about Donald Trump. He hasn't released his tax returns. So there's a lot more to learn.
What do you think is in those tax returns, Trent, that would be such a bombshell?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right.
No idea, and that's why we want to know.
I heard you in a recent interview talking about the contested conventions that we've seen previously. There's been 10 contested GOP conventions. This is obviously what you and your candidate, John Kasich, are hoping for. You pointed out that only three of the times of those contested conventions has the front runner emerged as the nominee. The other 7, it was not the front runner, which is the best case scenario for you. How do you think the people would feel about that? That the guy that got the most votes going into it doesn't actually end up to be the nominee? What would be the reaction from the people?
Well, I'm not going to predict that, but I mean, I think I would just say, Sandra, that the majority of voters are not picking Donald Trump. And if he gets a majority of the delegates that support him on the first or second ballot, then he wins. I mean, that's the way it works. If Ted Cruz does that, he wins too. We don't think that's going to happen. And that's why there's a furious race for delegates to look at all the candidates involved and see who is best ready to represent the party. I mean, look forward. We got to start playing this race forward. What happens with down-ballot races? What happens to the Senate? What happens to the Supreme Court? These are the kinds of questions that delegates are starting to have, and they're finally realizing that Donald Trump may not have a lock on it. That's a new kind of phenomenon that they're still wrestling with. Then they look to Ted Cruz and see how he gets destroyed by Hillary Clinton in the general election, and he doesn't change the map at all. And so you really look at the one remaining candidate who not only changes the dynamic of the race, is the best qualified to be the commander-in-chief, but wins in purple states and blue states. And that's what they really care about.
You make a lot of good points, Trent. Let me ask you, the governor getting a little testy with a reporter who pressed him on that matter. Listen to this. I want to get your reaction, Trent.
Listen, at the end of the day, I think the Republican Party wants to pick somebody who actually can win in the fall.
But if you've only won Ohio...
Can I finish? I think I'm answering Mike the question the way I want to answer it. You want to answer it?
No.
Here, let me hold that.
You're the candidate.
Let me ask you. What do you think?
That's what people love about John Kasich.
Well, the governor is, he speaks his mind, too. There's been a lot of people who talk about Donald Trump speaking his mind. And one of the great things about Governor Kasich is he does speak his mind, too, and he likes to engage with the press, and he likes to eat his way through New York. And I have to tell you that I did not eat my bagel with a fork this morning, just so you know.
That's good.
But you know, look, John Kasich has a plan. Our delegate outreach process has been very promising. We're going into states where we didn't think we had committed delegates or walking away with delegates. So that's all part of the process. And like we said, there's a long way to go. This race has been completely unpredictable. And it's going to continue to stay unpredictable, I think, going forward.
Yeah, Mark Serrano.
Trent, you know, if things stay the way they are, with Kasich in third place right now, looking ahead at the convention, all right, you'd be fighting after a first ballot. You would be fighting against Trump and Cruz. You'd also be fighting against the establishment, who I believe wants to see Paul Ryan or Mitt Romney in there. Don't you think that the period between June 7th and July 18th is John Kasich's moment? If there isn't, if Trump doesn't get the nomination at that point, that Kasich has the ability to influence this race by negotiating a deal in that period?
Good point.
Well, no, that is a crucial time. Look, Speaker Ryan took himself out of this race.
I don't believe it.
Last week.
Don't believe him.
I know, but I do. I actually believe him this time. Because he feels strongly about this. I do not see any groundswell of support for Mitt Romney. I don't think he has any chance of winning. I think if they, did a poll about him versus Clinton, he would lose and lose badly.
Well, your best deal is in that period before the convention.
So no, you make a good point, and that's why we're focusing on a very active outreach delegate process. I mean, we're being very sophisticated. We're starting a conversation with delegates who have gone to conventions and have never had to deal with these kinds of situations before. So they're realizing that they are going to play an outsized role than they have in the past, and that's an exciting conversation, and we're actually encouraged.
In fact, you're talking with delegates in what? Indiana, and then you got next Tuesday Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. That's next Tuesday alone. And then later we've got California, and then obviously in May lots of races like Indiana. What's most important to get the delegates? Which state?
Well, all the states, Maria. I mean, it's most important that, first of all, nobody gets to 1237 on the first ballot. Everybody knows that. Unless Trump pulls something rabbit out of a hat in California or something like that, which we don't think is possible. And so it's just part of a adult conversation about who's best to represent the party in November and to protect Republicans up and down the ballot. And people who are going to Cleveland are starting to really realize that this is like not only just November, but a generational damage that we could have if we choose the wrong guy. So there's a lot of time, and Mark makes a good point. We have a lot of time between the end of the primaries and the time people gather in Cleveland to have that conversation and to have more polling data that show that Kasich's really the only one that has a prayer.
Right. Wow. Trent, exciting days. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
We will see you soon. We'll be watching. Trent Duffy.